Hello and welcome. Thank you for checking out the Marketing Mirror. Today I'm here with my colleague, friend, and co-host, Jamie Shine of Clearly Conveyed Communications. All right, I have, of course, the great, the terrific Marketing Millie here to give a quick, and I mean quick, like a minute or so introduction on today's topic. And I think she's going to do a good job so that you'll really want to watch this one and join our conversation. Here we go.
Social media, marketing, and digital media have entered a completely new era, demanding that we rethink, evolve, and embrace the fastest changing business environment in history.
Businesses. Rethink, evolve, and embrace the fast-changing climate to survive.
We need to adopt a continually malleable mindset to move forward and thrive, embracing disruption and capitalizing on this new, unpredictable time.
Have a malleable business mindset to optimize unpredictability and love disruption.
As we discussed in the last live show, of course, AI is a major disruptive and underlying factor. But the bigger societal and cultural impact makes the shifting ground even more substantial. Every business, at every level, and in every department is feeling the impact.
The impact is huge. Are you and your business ready for the AI era?
As humans, this is about as chaotic as it gets. So in today's show, we're going to try to sort the chaos by highlighting the underlying major shifts in social media marketing and letting you know what you can do about them for better business results. Take it away, Sue-Ann and Jamie, and thank you for checking out the Marketing Mirror. Oh, and do me a favor, please like and subscribe so I can keep my favorite hosting job. Thanks!
There are some huge shifts going on. I'm so happy we're here with Jamie, as usual, our co-host for this series, and we're going to look at these major shifts going on in social media. Do you want to take the first one, James? And I'll see if I can get the growling to quit. Hopefully no one's hearing it.
Yeah, good luck with your wildcats there.
Okay.
Our first big, most shocking shift in social media today, and it is a big one, a seismic one, is the big shift from the attention economy to the interest economy. And it really does change everything. This first came to my attention when I saw Gary Vee talking about it on Instagram, and Neil Patel was right there with him. This has kind of changed everything because it's shifted the focus from before you had to get someone's attention and then they would follow you and then they were a part of your community and they would see your content, and it was pretty straightforward. It really benefited people to build large communities so they could have a visible audience for their content. And today that has kind of changed because not only do you have to grab someone's attention, you have to continually get that attention. So it's not enough to be on a platform and build a community. That's still important, but there's no guarantee that that community is even going to see your content today once they're connected with you. So you have to approach every single post as, how is this going to get my audience's attention? And that audience could be anyone. It could be non-followers. It could be people you're already connected with. You have to do that every single time. So you really have to focus on getting people's attention. We've talked before about how challenging that is today. And that's where we're seeing brands move into, I love that term, media house mentality, because it changes the way we look at creating content and interacting with our communities and our audience. So you're starting to see, whether it's series or not sitcoms, but really brands starting to delve into creating characters, like we've done for ourselves here in the incomparable Marketing Millie, but really creating an ongoing conversation as opposed to an individual post that has no follow-up or no relation to anything else. So you really want to focus on series. We have been doing that. We've certainly been doing that in our own marketing, and you're seeing a lot of brands do that as well. It creates an anticipation where people can look forward to the next content you're going to post, what's coming next in the series. You can kind of tease that and keep people's interest over time, as opposed to just popping up whenever and doing one-off posts. So it's a good way to start conversations, and then incorporate your brand into it, where you're not actively selling your products or services. You're simply incorporating your brand into a series or your content in a way that makes sense. But it opens the door for a conversation with your audience, interactions where your audience can chime in on that or talk about your characters or your series, and also their own take on it. Fanfic is a big thing today. It encourages people to get involved and become active with your brand, create user-generated content that you can in turn share and spotlight and really support an active, engaged community. So
It's like
just
your fans or your community is part of your brand now. It feels like to me. It feels that strong. Where before it was like, yeah, you had your, vibe with your tribe. But I think now it's a little bit deeper than that. And I think when you're hitting people with interest, you're hitting them with like at their place of intent, which moves into, I think, some of the other topics that we have coming. But it's about the change in how people see the platforms, like people themselves. Why are they going to that platform, for instance?
yes. Yeah, they want to feel, people want to feel involved with your brand. You're really trying to build a community of brand advocates today. Not only are they actively engaged, but they're also telling your story and sharing your brand experience for you. So that's the ultimate goal.
Well, yeah, I love that it's about, taking it to the conversation, to the level of conversation. So if you have anything that you want to add to that, please let us know by commenting, like and share the video if you can, because I think that's helpful or something. But remember that platforms are an ever-changing environment, and that's part of the problem, because in some ways we feel like we're chasing our tail. But remember, with those huge numbers that we can find in actual people using these platforms, and they're going to these platforms over going to other things. They're going to the platform instead of a search engine often to find or do something. And the platforms, again, people go to for different reasons, and different demographics go to different platforms for different reasons. Some people go to the same platform for a different reason. So it's really tricky in that you learn who you're trying to appeal to, and that you take it further than that just attention thing and pull it into the interest, because with interest there's more intent. When there's more intent in and interest in what you offer, then there's more of a chance of conversion. So that's one of the things I think that are really super important. There is also, like I said, the global trends is that people are up to, what did I say, 7 platforms per person that they partake in. I think the latest data is over 2 hours per day, 2.5 hours per day on social as an average worldwide, which seems huge to me, but that's
Wild.
what that's what I'm hearing. And it is wild. Let me see what other notes I had here on that. I have a few, it looks like. As always, right? So it's the bigger picture that is reflected in social, because we as a society, we as a culture, we as a worldwide audience look at social differently now. Like I said, the intent of the platform, what the platforms are for, what they do, how they are actually more than just a social thing nowadays. They're also majorly disruptive because they're always switching. They represent commerce, they represent community. They're a place that people find news. They're all about education and what you can learn that applies to you directly, which again speaks to that attention. And we have to look at and remember that the platforms have different interests than we do as businesses and our
Absolutely.
creator interests, right? So they're trying to push
Absolutely.
you. Did you notice? I'm sure a lot of you noticed that they're not pushing things to, even if you have a link, it's not being pushed to your website anymore. It's being held on that platform. And remember too that that it's constantly changing. The face of the platforms, the rules of the platforms, the algorithms, and we'll get to coming up the fact that the algorithms are also being kind of having the same brain as creators, in that AI is invading the space. And so that could change things in how you see it. And then there's I call it the culpability conundrum. And we have a small video that'll be coming out where we talked about this, but there was that recent ruling where they were talking about how social media, YouTube and Google both were ruled against for two reasons. One was mental what do you
I think mental health.
distress yeah, mental health
Yes, like
reasons,
addiction issues.
and the second one was addiction. So the funny part is when we looked at it deeper, we realized that how the platforms work and what they considered was causing these things were things that we're used to. We're used to them dictating it and giving it, and it being a feed and a scroll thing. So if a feed and a scroll thing is part of the addictive process, then how is that going to change social media platforms overall? These new rulings, the changing landscape of the legal, how they're going to handle it with the guide rails, with legalization and how they legalize or take away things. I mean, how will those rulings come down on the platforms themselves? You and I talked about, is it really the platforms who are culpable for children using their platform, or should parents have some of that control? So that was a really interesting conversation. I'd love to know what you guys think about that. And also, we talked a little bit, or I wanted to mention a little bit about the reporting that Matt Taibbi does and has been doing since, I think it's something like 2012. But he talked about how when the Twitter X reports came out about the policing of speech, it was like no thing. And there were 10,000 documents per month coming from every part of the government. So it wasn't just like one office of the government making a couple comments or asking to, shadow ban someone or something like that. It was literally 10,000 documents per month that they uncovered. And is
That's
this still
crazy.
going on? What kind of effect does this have? Because he's saying that these social platforms, because of things like this, are turning into this comprehensive speech policing program. And that, of course, makes us wary. And it's also one of the reasons why we feel less confident and less like we're having fun on our social platforms, in my opinion. And this also brings us to yet another dark topic with the warning of social murder. And this isn't about like hate speech or something like that. What this really is about, this topic, which I find interesting, is that social murder refers to like sort of the consensual agreement, like groupthink that comes along with certain groups in social. Maybe they are hate speech type groups, but hate speech is free speech. The issue is, are they gathering momentum that says that doing something violent, for example, is okay? Is it like giving people that extra oomph that, that group think we know that people will do things when they're in a group setting that they wouldn't do on their own, like that kind of issue. this topic that we're just looking at here, I'll go back one slide to bring it back up. But this topic here about the ever-changing platforms and environment, this covers so many of these issues and so many of these things that really are a matter of how it's going to work in the future, in my thinking. Freedom of speech, accountability, transparency, ownership. There's a lot of things going on about who owns everything that goes up on social and what you give your consent to. Jamie, tell us what you just found out recently about YouTube, for example.
Yes, that was kind of surprising to me. If you are on YouTube, like we obviously all are, we're here right now, but if you have an account on YouTube, you are agreeing to allow Google to use all of your content to train Gemini. There is no opt out. It is in the terms and conditions of using the platform. So this came to light recently. There was a situation with a popular creator who asked Gemini to create an image of a woman in a bikini. I won't go into like specifics what he was doing with that, but he got the image back. He posted it as part of whatever he was doing, and it was forwarded to another fellow popular creator who was very offended because it was her likeness that Gemini used. And she was really upset for good
It was an
reason.
actual person.
Yes. And the guy who posted it had no idea. He didn't know who she was. He had no idea that was a real person, that Gemini had used her likeness, which, as I said, we're all consenting to by being on the platform. So kind of scary that there's no opt out or no control over that. You can either use the platform and help train Gemini, or you can get off the platform. That's that's Google's
And we're
options.
all a little bit addicted, or a little bit of sunken cost in our Google, like YouTube's part of Google. We all have a
Yes.
sunken cost in that. And that's why, that's why the discussion is important too, because it used to be bring your audience back to you. But now it's like a lot of people are doing business by not bringing an audience back to them at all. They're doing commerce, like I said, on these platforms. They're using these platforms as social cultural hangouts. And they're doing this direct commerce. They're using it as a news source. Everybody says X. I mean, you still hear X referred to on the news as a source of a story. It's like
Yes.
referred to as the reference point. And that's because in real time, when things break, people who are there are breaking it. And that makes it, to me, relevant. I know a lot of people don't like X, but you have to look at what's offered on the things. And Grok is yet another tool that you should be experimenting with if you're experimenting with AI, in my opinion. But listen, you're not just adapting to audiences, in other words. I guess that's the big lesson here. You're also adapting to platforms, because there's product discovery also happening on the platforms right directly through bots. So bots are coming and doing the research on things, whether they're coming to your website to learn about your product or your company, whether they're coming to your social channels, whether they're learning about you through the AI platform itself with AIO rather than SEO. That's another twist to how people are coming to you or where you're going to run into them. So I think that's a good issue. I love that Lisa has a comment for us, because I'm with her. It's really fun, isn't it? And it's evolving quickly. It really is
Yes.
evolving quickly. Oh, this might be a good point for me to mention to anyone watching that's interested as a creator. Each of these images that I did today from our little avatars that we've been using for the show, I did them in different software. So some of these pictures are Nano Banana Pro or Nano Banana 2 or Sea Dream or Grok, I think, did one. So I tried to play around again to make the slides with different, setting us up with different, using the same prompt on different platforms. Let's put it that way. So if you're interested in which is what, or what was created where, just let me know, because I think that's kind of a cool, interesting thing that we're all working on and learning about too as we go here. Want to take this one, James?
All right.
My
So
darling.
as Sue Ann was just talking about, the platforms are a big deal today because instead of pulling your audience off of them to your domain, you're really meeting people where they are today, which is on the social media platform directly. And to throw another wrench in your operation, AI has become the operating system of social media inside and out. And what we mean by that is not only are creators using AI on our side to help create content and to help with our creative process and workflow, platforms are using AI to help run the platform. So that's part of some of the changes we've been seeing with platforms and how they're approaching things differently because they are using AI for a lot of different things to help find content. We've seen some instances where content has been flagged as violating community guidelines and no one's really sure why. They're using AI to help them do that. And there's glitches. It's not, it's still working that out. So, a lot of changes, a lot of unpredictability with the platforms. And part of that is that the platforms are using AI to help them out. But on the creator side, we're also seeing, obviously, we're all using AI to some extent with our creative process to help create content from individual posts to creating series and videos and captions and everything else, even ads. So there's a lot going on there. You can use it with your AI agents. More and more people are building agents to help them run entire marketing campaigns, the entire campaign, and then you can adjust it if it's not performing how you think it should be. You can input more reaction or non-reaction from your audience, what's happening. The AI agent can help you adjust that, um, whether to stay on budget or to target a different segmentation of your audience, whatever you want to do. AI can help you do a lot of different things.
Let me ask you this. What's your opinion about AI as the comment for social?
I'm not a big fan of that. AI comments are annoying to me because that's the one thing. Creating content has come a long way, and as people get better at using these AI tools, the content is getting better. We all know the lovable term AI slop, but it is possible to create fantastic content using AI as part of that process. We've seen it and we've done it, but the commenting is highly annoying because to me, when you see an AI comment, LinkedIn seems to be a especially popular place for people to use AI comments. They're so bad. They're glaringly AI, and not because of grammar or punctuation or anything, because they literally just repeat what the post says and they add nothing.
Yeah, they give you a little summary of your post. Well, I just wrote it. I saw somebody respond. I just wrote this. I don't need your summary of it. Like, if you want to respond for real bot, let me know.
Like, yeah, it doesn't add anything to the conversation. If I'm commenting on a post, it's to add something to the conversation. But the AI comments that I see, and I see a lot of them, like I said, especially on LinkedIn, they're useless. They have no value.
You would hope, and we've talked about this in one of our live audio spaces. We talked about how commenting can actually be a tactic to gain business. It can actually showcase your knowledge, your thought leadership in how you answer and comment to people. Also, it can help you build relationships slowly over time. I've talked before about my thank you marketing campaign. Just saying thank you and popping in and sending, good vibes or love to people regularly enough may have them take notice that you're out there, and it may start something, it may spark something. And when they think they might need something you do, they're going to call you because you've been so consistently nice over time, and you've built a relationship by thoughtful comments and showing up for things and what have you. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, case in point, I commented on a popular creator's post on Instagram. I had over 60 engagements from my comment alone. And it led to me connecting with some new people. So that was fantastic. But commenting is very important. So don't outsource that at this point until that improves, because it makes you look bad and it hurts your brand.
And the perfect transition into our next thing that has changed, because it used to be that likes and maybe shares or likes and retweets, those sort of vanity things were enough. But now everything's being measured by engagement. Is it getting picked up by AIO or SEO? Engagement is certainly a factor. And you know why? Because engagement means people. It's back to the old question, am I creating for people or for algorithms? And for me, I'm always creating for people. I love you people. And thank you if you're watching the show today. But engagement over reach takes a number of methods to do it now. We want to look at it different. We mentioned earlier about the media house that you have become as a business, whether you do it in-house or whether you take it out-house. I know that sounds funny, but wherever you do your media, it really makes a difference. You have to really kind of embrace the media platform mindset. So also we talked about, and we're going to talk about more about long form content's multi-space comeback, and where we talk about it in particular next on the next show will be when we talk about LinkedIn, because guys, our question is LinkedIn suddenly cool? And that'll be the topic next week. But also what we can do about comments. We want people to save, we want them to share, and those things matter more than those likes or things like that. And saves are really a nice thing. I find myself saving more lately. I don't know about you guys, but there's some good stuff out there, and it helps to build your research, and you're building it with real people and real trends when you collect it all over social, like I sometimes do. Also, getting that conversation going. That will always outperform broadcast. And since we're so used to broadcast, we got to think about how can we shift this. Lisa does this very well. Have you noticed that?
Yes, absolutely.
She really knows how to start those conversations and get people to reply and interact, and I love how she does that. And a lot of it is taking it away from business topics and talking about things like her baby Stella,
Stella's a rock star. She has her own following.
or talking about, the weather in her area, or things that she does outside of business and media. So that's another way to spin it. It used to be the only things that were like outside of business were things like quotes or images, or they weren't like the stuff that I see like Lisa and others who are successful doing now. So that's one thing. So we do need to know that one post with real discussion will definitely beat 10 posts where it's silence. And we all feel that too. We want that conversation, but then we don't want to be like just creating stuff to create it. That's where I run into trouble. I don't want to be just putting up a post and telling some story just for the sake of throwing something out there. So it's about, meaningful, getting meaningful. And I love this one about organic.
Yes. We're back to our friend Neil Patel. Organic social still works just differently. And I love that he talks about this regularly, because everyone thinks that organic social is dead, and it's not. But, as he says, organic isn't dead, low effort organic is. And that's so true. Simply, the companies and the businesses still in that broadcast mentality where they're just posting for the sake of posting. That's what is no longer effective. You have to, it's more important than ever to have a strategy today so that you can create content that actually resonates with your audience and pulls in people who aren't in your community yet. Because as we touched on earlier, that you never know who's going to see that content today, and it's going to pique their interest, and then they're going to come and check out your community and what you do. So create content for the new buyer's journey, which includes multiple touch points, whether it's
I think it's 3 times as many. For years and years in business and marketing, it was 7, 7 touch points, 7 touch
yes,
points or so. But I think it's like 3 times that many. And again, that might speak also to, your AI that searches into things. So a lot of your search is happening through bots right now, right? So
yes.
that's another touch point.
I think part of the buyer's journey expanding, which to me is not that unique because I've worked in the B2B space for a long time. So it's I've worked with an expanded buyer's journey for years, but part of the extended touch points is information overload. People have so much information at their fingertips today that they struggle to make decisions, paralysis by analysis. And they're trying to look at every possible option, and that's not a good way to spend your time. You're going to end up kind of spinning in place forever and get stuck. So that's part of what you're doing with your
Clarity
content.
and strategy. Here it is again.
Yes, is you're trying to make it easy for people to work with you and not present them with 100 different options. People say they want options and then they quickly get overloaded. There is a reason why the standard menu has 3 options for restaurants, is because you start getting more than that and people can't make a decision. So just keep that in mind when you're creating your
I think
content.
I saw a study that actually said that the more choices, the less sales.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
literally,
absolutely.
that was the outcome of the study, and it kind of blew me away because the other thing though is like when you do have to choose, you spend more time, which you would think spending time is a good thing, but not if you're not purchasing. If you're just hanging around in the decision area, you're not. They're not. It's not moving towards that conversion, towards that money making part of marketing.
Because it's a good point, because when you give your client or a prospect a ton of different options, you're asking them to do your job for you. And that's where you're going to lose that prospect in that buyer's journey, because you're putting too much effort on their part and stress on their part, and they don't want to make that decision. So make it easy for them. And we've talked about the impact of AI before, not only in this show, but in our previous show about the impact of AI on social media marketing. But brand building is not only at the core of, or it's at the core of organic social, because it's the last frontier to help you stand out in a world obsessed with AI. Your brand is critical today to make your voice heard and to stand out from the lovable AI slop or the generic content that so many people are pumping out today, because they're going for quantity everywhere and not really concerned about quality at all. So it
I
doesn't
love I
matter.
love I love Seth's notes on brand building last week in an AI age, in an AI era, because one of the things he talked about, you guys, is morals. Like, don't lose your morals to AI, and have your own thought leadership, have your own voice without AI's guidance. Like standing out in your own, on your own, in your own space, in your own feed, in your own, on your own.
And that's part of building your brand. I'm actually in the middle of a series on brand voice right now, over at Clearly Conveyed Communications. And that's part of why you need to build a brand, is to incorporate your brand values, let people know who you are and what you stand for and what they're going to be getting when they work with you. So that's part of that. It helps you stand out and gives you a point of view. So the last part of organic isn't dead. Low effort organic is that there is no guaranteed reach today. Like I said earlier, it's not even a guarantee that your followers, or very many of your followers, are going to see your content. You really have to drive engagement in order to push distribution out. But the flip side of that is that can be pushed out to anybody. It's wide open today. You know, you can have a post go viral and have a ton of new people or non-followers see it because it is driving engagement, and that can pull people in back to your community, into your brand. So it's critical. You've got to have a strategy today. Don't focus on the sheer volume or the quantity. You've got to have a point. Of everything should have a point. When you go to post something, what do you want your audience to get out of that? And if you're not sure, your audience probably isn't going to be either.
It's good. And I think that speaks again to that interest over attention factor.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty cool.
All right.
And we always like our pal Neil. He always
Yes.
brings the goods. I'm trying to switch slides here. I'm having another awkward
All right.
moment, as I sometimes do.
Oh, this is the big one.
This is something that Jamie and I kind of talked about together and said that these are the things that people need to concentrate on now. This is the action steps to overcome some of the challenges that we just discussed. And these are more important than ever. And those we're calling the 3 C's of content in this new landscape. And of course, that community building and that two-way conversation with your audience. Our friend Brooke Sellis likes to talk about conversation and connection, how fast you are as a company having that two-way conversation with your market, with your audience, with your viewers is so important. That timely and two-way communication can become a competitive advantage. And so it's so important to pay attention to how you react and how you treat that community. And those people will build you beyond where you could take your brand on your own. And I think that's a really important consideration too, as your community building. It's really important that you have more than it. Again, that's also where user generated content is going to fly in from.
Yes.
And we all go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say we have touched on a lot lately, but shifting to the interest economy and talking about organic social and saying how, your community, your followers aren't guaranteed to see your content. That is not us saying that community is not important. Community is still critical today because you need the people out there, first of all, looking for your content and anticipating it, but also sharing it for you and telling your story for you. So just because platforms are changing or social media is shifting, community is still vital today.
Here's what I wrote in my notes. Community first is the brand stardust of today. Your brand is your fans. Woo,
Yes.
woo. And then there's, of course, commerce. And commerce is built into the platforms for direct sales. Shoppers are using social to find and purchase things. A change in content to sales conversion implicates your social design and strategy. And this is a huge shift here because we were, again, always trying to bring it back to our platforms. But now that conversion, that interaction, that bringing them into your environment, onto your list, whatever it might be, is happening in some cases on the platform. And so we have to treat the platforms differently than we did in the past.
I did just want to touch on one thing on the commerce. I mean, all the platforms are doing it, but we just saw yesterday that LinkedIn actually launched the ability to book and pay for a consultation right on platform. So that's what Sue Ann was talking about. Like, these platforms are trying to keep you on the platform to do business there. And that's something we're going to get into more next week because, of course, we're focusing on LinkedIn. So just a little teaser there.
That's great. But the thing is that communication is where how you communicate is how you build trust. So being clear, being authentic. I hate the word authentic again because I don't want people to put on authentic. You have to be authentic. It's not something you can just, put on a face. That's a mask if you're just putting on authenticity. But if you are authentic, I think part of it comes with really loving, trusting, and wanting to serve your customers. Because if your biggest desire is to help the people that you serve, then you cannot go wrong, in my humble opinion, in how
Yes,
you'll communicate, how you'll conduct commerce, how your community will grow, and how people will view you.
absolutely. Well, and
Okay.
we've touched on before, our big issue with the word authentic and authenticity is if you're trying to be authentic, it's probably not. That's that's where we think it goes wrong. But the concept of being true to who you are is fantastic. And that segues directly into number 7 of our 7 most shocking shifts in social media today, the holy trust factor. We've talked about, we are currently in a trust recession. I kind of like that
A
term.
depletion of trust.
Yes, it's really hard. People don't know who to trust, especially online and on social media. There's all kinds of misinformation and deep fakes and people using AI in unsavory ways. So you have to, that's just another reason that it's so important to build a community today, especially online, because you need to build trust with your community members, with your customers, your clients, your prospects. If someone is going to work with you, they need to trust you. So,
What's really funny is that I think AI is starting to have a little bit of a backfiring effect because what it's doing is, ironically, the more that AI content grows, the more people seem to crave realness, right?
yes,
And, we've talked about this before, but micro and nano influencers, as Stephanie Garcia also talked with the show about this, outperform big creators in engagement because, again, it's not the numbers game, it's the engagement game, it's the community game, it's the love for each other, to help each other and serve each other in learning together, which is, why we do this show, because we're trying to learn together and we want to know what you guys think and what your opinions are on all this. Last week's show I thought was fascinating. If you missed that, check it out. But also, long term creator partnerships will outperform one off campaigns. And
yes,
so you want, again, that comes to building that relationship building. And I think I wrote something that Justin Moore does with his sponsorship wheel. And that is really truly based on a relationship building and growing of trust and understanding, becoming a partner with that other business so that it is so mutually beneficial that both want to maintain that relationship so it doesn't become a one and done. That's a great, interesting read. I should add that maybe later to
yes,
the comments. But trust,
absolutely.
I would say, is becoming the new currency.
It is. It is. And we've all seen, you talked about how micro and smaller influencers tend to outperform larger influences over the long run. But we've all seen some celebrity post about a product, and you can just tell that they don't use it. Like it just looks awkward. It's like there's no way you use this product. But that's where it helps to find somebody who, even if they have a smaller community, they love your product, they love your brand. Find your brand advocates and encourage them and support them. So when if they're creating user generated content, share it, spotlight it, really encourage those creators and those members of your community, as opposed to trying to go out and get some famous person to help drive your reach and visibility.
True. Here's what I want to say to kind of help close it. This is another video I did about a year ago, all by my lonesome, but it was talking about AI and how we need to look at it. And I think what's cool about this is that it still holds true, even with, and especially maybe with the invasion, the infusion, the integration that we need and want to have with AI. I don't want people to think that we don't advocate. Like I love AI. Another video that just went up is about AI and human collaboration and how much creativity, imagination, how it can take you beyond what you think is possible, beyond what you know, because you have these new tools at your fingertips for everyone. So I don't want you to think that because we're talking about things like brain health and, the cultural, societal, educational, all the things that are affected by AI that we're advocating against it, because we're not. We just have to keep remembering that genuine human experience conveyed through stories and visuals is what is going to stick, like the sticky brain thing, your brain on story that we talked about. And
Yes.
that you have to maintain, as Seth kind of talked about with his AI era branding tips, keeping that compassion and that empathy in who you are as a human into, as part of your social, as part of your marketing, as part of your business. And that you have to remember to maintain true thought leadership, not AI thought leadership, but your own
Yes.
true feelings, true experiences, and all of that's going to be so much more impactful. And I'm kind of proud that this over a year ago thing that I created still makes complete sense. And I still say that, again, go ahead and experiment with and learn with reckless abandon. I love that. I want you to discover and innovate and find those creative possibilities with using AI. But I don't want anyone to lose the human that we've been
Lose
talking about,
yourself in it.
and relish in the opportunities of today's tech. Yeah, we're afraid of that brain mush and things like brain
Yes.
fog that we talked about. We have a fear of the brain mush. So thank you for joining us on today's live. Next week's show is LinkedIn suddenly cool? What? I think maybe
Crazy.
Jamie predicts that it's a big one this year. She predicts
Yes.
that LinkedIn is a biggie, especially if you're in, I think, the B2B space, right, Jamie?
Yeah. Well, either or. That's one of the big shifts. We're going to talk about it next week. But even if you're in the B2C space, don't sleep on LinkedIn. It's not your parents' LinkedIn.
Don't
It's
sleep on
suddenly cool.
LinkedIn. That's our note going in next week. Thank you for checking out The Marketing Mirror with your host, Sue Ann from Right Mix for Business, and your co-host, Jamie Shine of Clearly Conveyed Communications. Brought to you by Right Mix for Business and ElectraCast Media. Thank you.
ElectraCast.